What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about the death of the PlayStation 4, or I guess I should say the fact that so many gamers are begging to let the PlayStation 4 finally just die so that the PS5 and PC and next Nintendo Switch and stuff can finally start to thrive. But let's discuss. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Yesterday, I got hit by a car while riding my bike, so I'm pretty bruised up, I'm pretty bloody and stuff like that, and I'll talk about that at the end of the video for somebody who wants some entertainment, because it's an embarrassing story because it's pretty much 85% my fault. But let's start with the video games. So, yeah. This was announced a couple days ago, and I was surprised by the amount of anger that this announcement actually unleashed onto the web, which is the fact that Star Wars Survivors is coming to Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 in September. Now, when I heard this, I was not particularly shocked because, honestly, they did tell us they were testing this out. They were kind of experimenting with the idea of porting it to last gen. But when they announced this, the amount of people that were saying, this is a bad idea, we need to move on from 11-year-old consoles. The fact that the PS4 is still getting games in 2024, this is bizarre because I do think the success of the PlayStation 5 is very measurable. I mean, this was announced just about an hour ago. The PS5 has sold 62 million units in its first 4 years. So it's not like it's unsuccessful. It's definitely a big hit. But when you scroll down to the comments, people are discussing the fact that despite the fact that so many people are buying the PlayStation 5, it doesn't seem like the raw sales, the raw attention, the raw dollars earned is actually matching what the PlayStation 4 did. I mean, this guy here, this is definitely just a troll. I mean, his name is Gaming Grifter, and it says, I'm a big fan of the Xbox. Okay, so he's trolling a bit, but he does say here, Stellar Blade and Rise of Ronin didn't even sell a combined 10 million copies. Like, that guy's being a hater, but I must admit, I find it fascinating that so many games are still getting this cross-generation release. Like, the PS5 is still way on top, it's still way ahead of the competition, but without Sony properly supporting it. Like, we are getting so few drip-fed first-party games. We're about to get Astrobot, and I'm excited about that, but, I mean, the slate of release dates when it comes to stuff made by Sony for Sony is continuing to dry up. And a lot of these third-party publishers, a lot of people like Rockstar and Square Enix and everybody else, they're just going, okay, we can release stuff on PS5, but we could also just release it on PS4 as well if they can afford it and go, okay, that's 120 million possible extra sales that we have access to. People are pointing out this. Call of Duty Black Ops, I think, is a very interesting example because that's the next big Call of Duty. It's definitely the thing that Microsoft is pushing it real hard. It's coming to Game Pass and stuff like that. And a lot of people are saying it's bizarre that they're even putting that out on last gen. I think Sony is satisfied. The PS5 is currently trailing the PS4 by 1.6 million units, but the PS5 is more expensive, it had more supply constraints and price hikes instead of cuts. At the same time, the PS4 had that PS4 Pro bump. We'll see what happens with the PS5 Pro later this year. This is a great comment because I do think that this is a strange circumstance because I think it's pretty obvious that Sony is in a good spot. The PlayStation, just as a brand, is way, way, way out in the lead. But a lot of these companies that are just making stuff, I feel like there is this obsession with safeness of going, okay, how can we make the game for the biggest pool of people? Recently, Vince Vaughn was on The Hot Ones, and he was talking about Hollywood and stuff like that, and he said that everybody is afraid to try something new. Instead, they just go, okay, let's make a Barbie movie, or people know what Battleship is, so we got a Battleship movie. I think this is a good example of how the video game industry is also kind of thinking right now. I saw this. This was completely mind-blowing to me. These are the top-selling games on PlayStation platforms as of a couple of months ago. And you could see a lot of these are also on the PlayStation 4. These are the biggest games in the world right now in 2024 on PlayStation systems, Elden Ring is also coming to frickin' PlayStation 4. A lot of these games, Call of Duty, that's on PlayStation 4, MLB The Show, that's on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Minecraft, EA Sports, Shin Megami Tensei. Think about that. Almost all of these games are also on the PlayStation 4. Now, I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm saying that I think that we're almost seeing a repeat of history. These are all games that came out in the last couple years that were also released on last gen, and I think we're going to see a bit of the Atari effect. Now, anybody who's ever studied video game history, read some books about video game history, Atari kind of screwed themselves because their first console, the Atari 2600, was a massive blowout success. I mean, it was just such a huge way to play color games on a TV. I mean, it wasn't the best thing ever. It was definitely very low tech. It was way before even the original Nintendo that was released in America. But that first one, the 2600, was so popular that when they tried to release subsequent systems, some sequel consoles like the 5200 and the 7400, they bombed. So because of it, when developers were trying to make stuff, they kept making games exclusively for the 2600 instead of the later consoles because that was a bigger pool with a bigger install base that was already spending money. I almost think that this anger about the state of the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 4, I think this is strange to me because I think we're coming up on the last console generation. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being a boomer and I can't imagine how things are going to change. But for the last 20 years, everything has just been about better graphics, less load times, and slightly tweaked controllers, right? I mean, true, you can get some really funky controllers and stuff like that. There's a weirdo, super customized PlayStation 4 controller with back buttons and stuff like that. But my point is the fact that there hasn't been an innovation that truly feels like that next console generation is absolutely relevant when it comes to PlayStation. Like, if you don't obsess over graphics and stuff like that, I feel like PlayStation is hitting the spot where once we hit complete photorealistic graphics, what comes next? What is absolutely necessary about the next generation if they just keep making more beautiful games instead of stuff that feels that innovative or different? I'm saying this in a weird way, but what I'm essentially saying is, what happens when graphics get good enough? There are people that are still playing stuff on their PlayStation 4. They don't feel underpowered. They don't feel like they're getting ripped off. They don't feel like they're losing out. It does feel like the PlayStation 4 is still good enough. What happens in 10 years? Is the PS5 still going to be out? Is the PlayStation 6 coming out? I almost think we're going to hit a time where there is a final PlayStation, where the graphics, the playability, the controller are just so fine, they just sell it forever and keep making it cheaper. Maybe I'm completely freaking out, but I just feel like this generation has, in a way, been incredibly fun for me. I've enjoyed the PlayStation games I've been playing, like Helldivers and Spider-Man and God of War, but I do feel like we're hitting this strange spot where people are feeling less excited for the next generation, and I'm not sure I've ever experienced that. There's little reason to go next gen outside of buying a replacement system for their PlayStation 4 games to be played on. I honestly may sit this gen out as the only thing I want to check out is GTA 6. Let them cook. This is, honestly, this comment, when I read it, this is the entire inspiration for the video. It kind of blew my mind. The idea of sitting out a console generation as a hardcore gamer. I wonder how many people are thinking like this. People that are saying, okay, the fact that we're still getting PS4 games, is it time to let the old gen die? A lot of people are saying yes. This, you can see my poll here has 1,000 votes. I saw Pio did a similar thing. It's time for games to stop coming to the PlayStation 4. It's been long enough. 4 years into the generation. Yeah, here we go. 4 years into the gen. Should games only be coming to the PS5 and Xbox Series X? Yes, stop cross-gen. I don't think it will stop. Like, even this year's COD, so many games now only come with the PlayStation 4 version because the PS5 is backwards compatible. You can put something on PS4 and also sell it on PS5. I just feel like PlayStation is in a strange spot, but I feel like it just reflects the game industry. people are afraid of flops. People are afraid of putting something out and not selling a couple million copies at the very least. And if your options are a console that's sold 62 million units or a console that's sold 120 million units, of course a lot of people are going to, if possible, put it on the PlayStation 4 and then sell it additionally on the PS5 because there is that backwards compatibility. I am just wondering what happens with the next generation. What happens if they announce a PlayStation 6 in 3 or 4 years? You know, I think there is a very strong chance that we're coming up on the end of consoles as we know it, like console generations. I feel like we're just reaching a point of complete photorealism where everything is good enough, the tools to make games are cheap enough, Unreal Engine is so ubiquitous, Unity, like there is so many ways for passionate people to make passionate games, and there's enough power in these consoles already. I think things may change at some point. We'll see how well the success of the PlayStation 5 Pro goes. I think that is going to be the litmus test. I think that if the PS5 Pro actually finds an audience, if it even sells 10 million consoles, I think the PlayStation 6 will come here in the next 3 or 4 years. But if the PlayStation 5 Pro bombs, I have a feeling we're going to get another 10-year console generation with the PlayStation 5, but I could be wrong. I'm just saying that I'm in a spot where the continued support of the PlayStation 4, to me, does feel like a mistake. It does feel like our obsession with previous generations, with having big install bases and stuff, is going to end up hurting the experiences when we're trying to aim for the lowest specs, the lowest quality of visuals for every single experience, instead of aiming for the top. But what do you guys think about this? Does this seem like an issue, or are you fine with whatever as long as the games are good? Which is a fair point. Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Okay, so let me explain about how I get hit by a car. So yesterday, I went to the gym, I'm working out, I posted this pic, and I felt all cool and muscly and stuff like that. And then I was riding my bike home. I have an electric bike. Let's get this little marker here. I've got an electric bike. So here's the sidewalk. I'm on the sidewalk. My electric bike goes about 20 miles an hour. So I'm zooming along here. There's a big apartment complex, huge apartment complex right here. And then there is a major street right here. So somebody was making a completely legal right turn. Somebody is turning off here to go into the apartment complex. It crosses the sidewalk, of course. And as I'm going, there's an SUV exiting out this way. So I'm going down the sidewalk. There's a huge Suburban, like an Escalade right here. So it's crossing to get ready to make that right turn out of the complex. I could not see this little teeny tiny white truck that was turning this way. So I ended up going behind this car, and this one, I hit it super, super hard. I crashed into the front of it. They hit me. I hit them. I ended up flying over the handlebars of my bike and literally landing Superman on the hood of their freaking car. It was these little tiny ladies, like old ladies. They were freaking out, and I felt bad because, I mean, honestly, it was 85% my fault. They're like flipping out. They're jumping out of the car yelling. I'm still on the hood of the car. I hit so hard, I actually have my keys and wallet in my pocket. My keys and wallet fly out of my pocket. I was wearing my headphones shoot off and stuff like that. So I'm laying on the hood of the car, and I managed to like pick myself up. I think this finger is sprained like a mother. And then, I think my knees are sprained. Oh, I just got these little stupid cuts. Oh my God. I got these stupid cuts on my shins. Oh God. But for the most part, I'm pretty fine. I've got like some little stupid cuts here and there on the shoulders and stuff like that. But I mean, all things considered, it went surprisingly smooth for how bad it could have been. There was also a cop that happened to be cruising past, and a cop came up and was trying to like help, but he just kept yelling at the old ladies, which was not really useful. So thankfully their car was fine. My bike is pretty beat up. The front handlebars are completely busted. I had like a little spotlight on the front of it, so when I was riding at night, I could see it popped. It popped like a freaking water balloon. It just exploded. So no longer front headlight, and I may need to buy a new electric bike, which is very expensive. So yeah, I'm alive. I made it. No gym for a bit. I definitely am going to try and not die, but I love you guys very much. It was one of those times where I was so beat up and I was so sore, and I still, like, walking and stuff, my knees hurt so bad. So I guess I have no choice but sit around and play video games. But I love you guys. It was nice to not die. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.